Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
And welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. It is Friday, and oh my goodness, I'm so happy everybody is here. I am Maureen Scanlon, your host, or life coach Maureen, as you all know me. I say it every week, and I'm going to keep saying it. Today, my guest is stunning. And she's absolutely she engulfs what I love about doing this podcast, because as we were saying off air, I think the greater the pain, the greater the growth. And she's just the light. You can see her light. If you watch this on YouTube, she's shining. She's just a shining, beautiful light in this world. And she has such a story. And this is why I do what I do, because when you hear all of the things she had been through and to see how happy and positive and uplifting she is, it really will bring you hope if you're going through anything. So today, my beautiful guest is Jaime Filer. She is a published fitness model, a motivational speaker, and a mental and physical health coach. She has a degree in kinesiology and has been an online personal trainer for over 17 years. Now, let me say this, over 17 years, this is long before the big wave of health coaches and trainers. So she's the OG as far as I'm concerned, and she's got thousands of transformations under her belt. She specializes in helping women overcome overwhelm, big thing, reduce anxiety, and increase their confidence through fitness. She's a Virgo, which we just talked about. So she's a black and white gal who knows what she wants, goes after it, and gets it. So, oh my gosh, without further ado, hi, Jaime, and good morning.
The crowd goes wild. Good morning, Maureen. Hi.
I love it. What I love is also reading that bio is like everything you do physical with people, I do mentally. Like I get them mentally fit and you get them physically fit. And I just love so much about it. But of course, as we know here on I Never Knew, we start with our knee story. And our knee story is, when were you at that moment on your knees saying, God, this is not working for me. Life is really rough. And as I read your questionnaire, we've got about 5 knee stories. And the question she asked when I said, what do you want to talk about? And she said, what do you not want to talk about? Because I can talk about anything. So I'm throwing it to you. Let's start. We have age 15 when you started off with your eating disorder. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I am so jealous of people that have one knee story. So, I started dieting when I was 11, but of course I didn't know that it was dieting at the time. I just wanted to be smaller. So I was eating less and moving more, which is now ironically the advice I give to my clients. But obviously mine took a literally deadly turn. It became full-blown anorexia. I'm going to say right away, but wasn't diagnosed until I was in my mid-teens. So 15 was actually my first hospitalization. My mom brought me kicking and screaming to the hospital for sick kids in Toronto, where I was born. And I was an inpatient for 40 days. So fishbowl, ECG, EKG leads on me all the time, making sure I was medically stable, moving up the ranks, as we call them. You come in medically unstable at stage 1, and eventually you get more permissions the more compliant you are, the more polite you are to the staff, the less resistant you are to recovering, until eventually you're at stage 4 or 5 where they let you go. So that was my first knee story that I didn't know that I was knocking on death's door, because I was 15 and invincible. But I essentially was in the process of killing myself.
And it seems like it was so physically grounded. Did they do any mental health work, any therapy of why we were doing what we were doing? And like you said, if I was compliant, I'm sure they had feeding tube or force feeding you at some point without really getting to the root of it. What do you think?
So we were really lucky. We were and we weren't. There was a lot of Zoloft involved. Unfortunately, because again, as I know now from working with a lot of overwhelmed and anxious women, Zoloft mutes everything. You cannot have a deep, profound, eureka moment, groundbreaking discussion with someone who's on enough Zoloft. So that was, I think, their first mistake. The second one was that my frontal lobe was as squishy as my dog toys. I did not know. I mean, they could have gotten to the root of it. We may have found out some stuff about childhood, about how I was treated, about switching schools when I was 11 and how that may have thrown me off balance. But I don't think to this day we've ever come to one decision, because I don't think there's ever a root cause. I think there's something, and then there's something else that maybe flips the switch. Yeah. So I could have had it all along. There was something inside me that never felt settled. And then at 11, I switched schools. There we go. My brother was no longer a member of the family. My dad just kept getting sicker and sicker. And then finally I said, I just want to disappear.
Wow. And such an age that's so impressionable. I mean, I have a 15-year-old grandson in my home right now. And I'm so cautious on what I say at this point in life, because you're finding out who you are, and to be in that traumatic of a space of, everyone focusing, first of all, switching schools. We all know middle school is torture, and you're completely judged on what you have and what you look like, and all that. So that external validation for you was like, hey, if I physically make sure I look good, then I'm good. But internally, all that stuff that had been going on was just a big question mark of how it led to that. So, oh man, you're so tough. So tell me how we progressed to the next knee stories.
Well, we regressed before we progressed. I say recover, and just like somebody who'd be in AA or NA, oftentimes our journey to sobriety is not a straight line. So hospitalized at 15 for 40 days, then subsequently became an outpatient, continually kind of getting better. But then once I got back to school in 12th grade, so that was over the summer, I was so angry with my parents, I just stuck up a big middle finger to them and said, things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. Screw you guys for making me lose out on the summer between 11th and 12th grade. Stopped eating once again, complete regression. But at that point I was 18, and it was no longer an involuntary admission, because I was an adult. So I would have had to admit myself, which of course I wasn't going to do. So I got worse, which then led to kidney dialysis. That was completely involuntary because I'd shut my kidneys down. So stayed in the hospital for 3 days while they rejigged everything, reset my body. Still wasn't 100% willing to get better, though now I knew I had a problem. It had only taken me 8 years. So next knee story, kind of 19. On my way to recovering, I was now in second year university, and I get a call in the middle of a class that my mom's best friend is coming to pick me up. My dad's in the hospital. And I said, okay. I wasn't particularly concerned. My dad was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease 8 months before I was born. By the time I was 3, he was put on a ventilator. I had never seen him eat, speak, breathe, walk by himself. It was always, it was essentially like Stephen Hawking is the closest thing you can think of. So he used a myoelectric switch to communicate. But I mean, the truth is, he had MRSA at some point. He had a heart attack at some point. He was also older. He was about 73 when he passed away. So I had an old dad. And I said, okay, we're just going to the hospital, see what's wrong with dad. I found out when I got there that an electrical fire had started in my basement and had engulfed my house in flames. And because my father was essentially 180 pounds of dead weight, the firefighters were not able to get him out with his ventilator in time.
Oh my
So
God.
that's what I was doing at the hospital. So my second knee moment while trying to recover was hearing that my dad died in a freak accident house fire.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, talk about really putting a wrench in the ability to get well.
Yeah.
I mean, now let's just throw more on top of that. My
Right.
goodness. I mean, and probably feeling sort of, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but feeling sort of like I didn't have an active father to begin with, but I was happy that at least I had a presence there and he was there. And I had a relationship with him. However, it looked different from anything else or anybody else's. I had a father there, and what a tragic, sad way for him to go through that. He didn't deserve that at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. So, at that point, I mean, I did come to my senses. I realized that now I was the only one my mom had, and I wasn't about to make her life any more difficult than it needed to be. So we officially sobered up, decided that it was time to cut the BS. There was no more counting calories. There was no more over exercising. It was time to get better. So what I did at that point, and then I was around 2021, is I actually messaged, you asked about what kind of support I received in the hospital. There was a social worker that I think it was like one social worker for every 8 kids. And I didn't know who else to turn to. So I asked my mom, tail between my legs, I said, do you still have the number of the social worker I worked with 6 years ago? And she said, I think I do, but I don't know if she works privately. And I said, let me try it. So I called her up and I said, you probably don't remember me. I think you could have been able to help me at 15, but I wasn't ready then. I'm 21. I am ready now. Can I come back and see you? And she said, absolutely. I take private clients. So that was, yeah.
Meant to be. Meant to be.
Meant to be. So it was just me and Elise, no Zoloft, nothing else, no gym membership, staying away from my trigger. Like, again, you wouldn't put an alcoholic in a bar just to test them. So I didn't go back to the gym. And then that was it. So fully recovered by 24. It took me about 3 years. And thank God, no relapses in the last 12 years. Nothing, completely, obviously, we can get to it eventually later, but I have been to Overeater Anonymous meetings, and you still say, my name is Jamie. I have anorexia, but I've been, I think the word is abstinent, implying you've not done anything. I've been abstinent for 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love that you're shedding a light on that connection between any addiction, because anything that controls our life is an addiction. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, it doesn't have to be a substance. It's just something. I mean, even I have OCD, even that can be controlling in my life. I have to clean the toilet 3 times a day. So it's like anything that controls our life. So thank you for that connection. Oh my gosh. So we move on, and then we talk about, so listeners, you don't see how beautiful she is. She is a fitness model. Of course she is. And now she portrays health instead of weight loss and letting it control and consume you. So you meet a young lady. Yeah. And you came out as gay. How did that come out? How did mom take that? How did everybody take it?
Mom's amazing. I came out after I canceled an engagement to a nice Jewish boy. So I was on track. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, right? You get married at 25, you have your first kid by at least 30, second one by at latest 35. So I was like, shit, time is ticking. So yeah, we were engaged until we weren't. And I said, I was starting to question my sexuality, and I had no idea what that meant, but I knew that I didn't want to string him along because he deserved better. And he said, who am I to get in the way? of Jaime Filer and her happiness. So we held hands, we cried, we kissed, and then that was it. So I was telling this story to my massage therapist, whom I'd been seeing regularly because we were both training out of the same gym. And she's like, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it if this is something, because I feel like you being naked on my massage table, not necessarily the most appropriate place to discuss it, but like if you actually wanted to be friends, maybe outside of here. And I said, would you like to take me out on a date? And she said, are you gay? And I said, honestly, I don't even care. I don't know. I don't care, but I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
And she's, okay. And then she became my first girlfriend. So I told my mom, I said, listen, I don't know if I'm gay, but I know I have a girlfriend, because obviously Virgos are black and white. You can't just date. You have to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
That's right. All or nothing, baby. All or nothing.
Right. So her two questions, and any Jewish mother or Jewish daughter listening can appreciate this. She said, number one, are you sure you will never go back to men? No, I'm not sure, Mom. We can leave that door open. And then she said, if you have kids, will you carry them so that they can be Jewish?
Because that's what makes them Jewish.
That's the concern, the grandbabies. You got to continue the lineage. And I said, yes, Mom. If my future maybe partner and I have a kid, I will carry it, no problem. And that was it. Never like discussed it together again.
Wow. That was actually pretty liberal for Mom. I mean, really, because it sounds like our parents kind of can be pretty conservative, and those expectations that were put on us. And it sounds like your upbringing, like you just said, get married, good Jewish girl, get married and then have kids. I love that she actually was probably more open-minded than you thought she would be.
Oh, 100%. I didn't know how that was going to go, but I also knew that I was so confident that even if she wasn't, this was it. I was 25, borderline quarter life crisis. I was going to come out either way, and she could receive it how she received it.
Wow. And that really, to me, being that I have worked with so much of the LGBTQ community, especially in coaching, because it's such a scary thing, to have that level of confidence in that at that time, because, it is a process. It's like anything in our lives. When we tell our parents something that we're not sure that they're going to support, we're afraid of it. And you were so, I'm me, and this is how it is. And you weren't going to worry about outside influences. You can be on the train, or you can stay at the station, but I already know what I want, which makes you such a fantastic speaker and coach on confidence, because you emanated that right away with your coming out, which I absolutely love. So then you left everything you knew and you went to Florida.
Yes. So this was the next, I think this was the final, this could have been the final knee. I don't remember. There might be one more knee after that. So it didn't work out between my first girlfriend and I. It didn't work out between my second girlfriend and I. So finally I gave up on girlfriends, and I said, forget it. And that's actually, so I have a tattoo of a diamond ring on my ring finger. And it's because I have canceled 2 engagements. And I said, you know what? I have to stop chasing this. I have to stop being a Virgo about it. I can't go 100 miles an hour, especially because this is so new to me. Just do what normal people do and date everyone. Just have so much fun. Go refocus on your friends. Go have an amazing career, because the ring will always be there, right? What you're seeking is also seeking you. The person who is going to marry me is out there, and that's it. So just hands off. 4 months later, I meet the woman that's going to be my wife. And I was like, okay. So that's when I went to Florida. We had been chatting online from January to April. In April, I packed a bag with a one-way ticket. And I said, here I am. Yep. And she's like, cool. How long do I have you for? What's the plan? How long are you staying? And I was like, yeah, no, one way. We're going to see if this works. And then when it doesn't, I will go home. If it doesn't, I will go home. And that's it. And then so I realized that you can't just move to a new country. There are some practices and policies that governments like. So I had to quit my job in Canada. I had to not right away find a new job in America, because again, that's not there's a process. There's the green card. Also, you can't just get a job. You have to have a reason to be there. So I had to get married right away, 90-day fiance style. And then you wait for a green card. So I was unemployed for 9 months, slowly digging away at the savings because I did not have a great paying job. Katie was living off her student loans at the time because she was just finishing grad school. So then, yeah, that was my next me moment because I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I mean, thankfully I'd found a life partner, but I had no idea what the rest of anything was going to look like because I didn't have any friends and I didn't have a career. And then even some of the friends in family I did have in Toronto were like, why didn't you tell us you got married? And there was shame and embarrassment because it was a 90-day fiance situation. And I said, but we would have supported you. And I said, I understand. That's on me, not on you, right? Don't take anything personally. It's what I was going through, not anything you did to prove you weren't worth it. So that was my next me moment, starting completely fresh, foreigner in a foreign country.
Wow. And it's kind of that lesson too, where we have to find that happy medium between jumping off the cliff and not knowing what's at the bottom, but also taking some
calculated risk.
Some planning, a little bit of Boy Scout theory in there. Let's plan a little bit, but it seems that that's your personality. And I think as we grow older, we do sort of rein it in a little bit, but we can't dull our shine and we still need to take those risks. I love what you said though. I was a love chaser. That was me. I had a love addiction, and I think a lot of that came from the upbringing we had. It sounds like your mother and mine. They're very strong women, and they are very controlling women, and they very much like us to be maybe mini thems. Yeah. And a Gemini and a Virgo are not capable of being a mini anything. So yeah. I truly think we learned how to cope with, the codependence, and I'm going to appease you, but it's still not who I am. And then when we went out into the world and the addition of really discovering, your sexuality was, excuse me, you put that on that too, but I was the same way. I was always this chaser of love. Like I please. And then I end up in these dysfunctional relationships. Yeah. Everyone knows my story with my first marriage, married at 18, pregnant at 19, domestic violence, and then continued in these narcissistic relationships where I just did what they wanted. I made sure they were emotionally stable. And so I relate so much to you. We had to rein ourselves back, in and just go, you had a lot more confidence than I did. I didn't find mine until I was 45 and you were 25. The younger generation is finding it sooner. So I love that for you. I love that story for you. So here you are with Katie. Now, how did you, is that who you're married to today?
Yeah, or, yeah, still married. Yeah.
Oh my God, bless Katie. She was like, this hot mess just showed up on my doorstep from Canada. And
yes, that's it. I mean, should you ever get the privilege to interview too, that woman was a hot mess herself. We always we joke that we're lucky that we were both very attractive at the time. That's pretty much what held it together for a little bit.
Oh, I always say don't go out seeking relationships where someone has to fill a void, but sometimes it works out when you have a void and the other person has a void, and we kind of fill each other's voids. But I'm not going to based on my dating relationship coaching, I'm not going to allow people to think that that's the norm. But I love that for you guys. So you've grown together. How long have you been married?
It was 5 years in April.
I love that. Well, I've been married almost as long as Mars was 5 years in March. My husband and I,
anniversary friends. All right.
2018 was a good year.
Absolutely. Heck yeah.
I love that. Now, something that you said that I absolutely loved in your questionnaire was you said that resilience is genetic. And I think that's fantastic. So tell us about why is your DNA so resilient?
I believe, well, number one, because it's easier than saying it's a skill that can be cultivated. Because when you say that to people, it seems like there's a long road ahead of them, which there is.
But work, a 4-letter word, right?
So my mom is the product of two Holocaust survivors. And not just survivors. My grandmother escaped a Nazi work camp and subsequently liberated her husband and brother from the men's work camp. Yeah. And then the three of them ran away, paid a bunch of people off. Man, I wish I could get this story from my mom. Side note, I should probably do that. And then hopped on a boat after my aunt and my mom were born in a displaced persons camp in Germany to Pier 13 in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And that's how we ended up in Canada. So we've got that. So 2 generations above me, we've got Holocaust escapees, not just survivors. My mom, obviously born at a displaced persons camp to 2 immigrants who the immigrant mentality is we work and we don't stop working and we put the emphasis on education. And if you're not being educated or educating, you're working. So right away, you know, her parents came down very hard on her, but my grandparents did exceptionally well for themselves. My mom turned into one of the biggest human rights advocates in all of Canada. And my aunt was the first female Jew on the Supreme Court of Canada.
Wow. Oh, yeah. My word. Yes.
So that's how that turned out. And then my father's story, I mean, again, diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease 8 months before I was born and lived with it, fought every single day. Every time my mom would say, is today the day we're pulling the plug? Or every time he was in the hospital and the doctor said, listen, he doesn't have that, you know, you're talking quality of life versus quantity of life. Is that what you want for him? And she would say, is that what you want? And he's like, yeah, of course. I've got 4 kids and a wife who's still alive. Like, why wouldn't I stay alive? Obviously, he said all of that, not with his mouth, not speaking. And so that was my father for 19 years. Like, how could I look at what I have in my me stories and be like, oh, woe is me, when these are the stories that I grew up with? So that's why I believe my resilience has to be in my blood and in my genetics, because everyone around me is a fighter.
Yeah. And I really do believe there are these things, these intuitions and these things that we don't understand and we don't know that much about genetics yet. But yeah, those stories are just proof. They're just proof that, you know what, even if you didn't want to, you were going to, because there is something, I think, pushing us along. And I'm also a medium, so I know that your spirit team, you've got those that guide you, you've got mentors, you've got relatives, you've got, you know, ancient spirit guides. So there's always something pushing us along, whether we know it or not, and whether you can see it or not, or whether you can communicate with it or not. I know just from being able to hone in on that that psychic ability, which everybody has and everybody can do. I didn't know I had that ability, and then I realized it when I started life coaching, because I was getting information about people that I had no idea. I had no way of knowing this about these people. So I firmly believe it, and I think it's a personal experience. Once you've experienced that connection with your spirit team, you have no doubt about it, because you're like, this girl has no way of knowing any of this information. So there's something to it. And I think intuition too. I think there is just this 5-dimensional, this is whether it's our higher self, whatever people want to call their higher power, source, universe, whatever you believe in. There is something more than just, I think, what we see. You know, there's more than meets the eye. So I love all of that. And it's so funny that you mentioned Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, because I actually end one of my speeches, my TED-like talk, about, you know, learning to be your own best friend, about Glenda the Good Witch saying it was in you all along, and you just had to find it. And so there was our connection, as my guests or as my audience, my listeners always know. I always know there's a thread. So tell us about your degree in kinesiology, how you really have thrived and gotten so passionate about the physical fitness aspects of healing and being healthiest in our lives.
Sure. So again, you've heard the story about my parents. I wasn't getting away with not getting an education. I went to private elementary school, private high school, and then the idea of a gap year or a travel year or a victory lap, it wasn't an option. So I was like, shit, again, I also now at 36, I realize how unreasonable it is to ask a child to choose a major when their frontal lobe hasn't been fully formed yet. But I knew I liked gym and recess in high school. They were my favorite. So the guidance counselor, who bless that individual, said, have you thought about kinesiology? It's the study of human movement. And I was like, so is that the closest thing to majoring in gym? And they're like, yes. And I said, okay, let's major in kinesiology. Sure, I guess. But then as I started studying the body, and then there were, the electives, I got a lot of psychology because I chose not to go into it from like a biology, chemistry, and organic chemistry route. I chose the psychology, the social studies, the history of all of that. And I said, I can't believe everyone doesn't know this. This is amazing. And then, of course, I was also simultaneously healing from an eating disorder. And at that point, I was allowing myself to go to the gym. So I was like, okay, not only do I feel smarter and more empowered, but I feel stronger and more empowered. Why isn't everyone doing this? And so I decided that the path, it wasn't a career, it's a calling. My calling is to show people just how good they can feel if they move and eat cleaner. And it's why I was put on this earth, to spread that message. I just couldn't get out of going to university for it.
I love that. I love that because sometimes we just fall into our purpose.
Yeah.
I interviewed someone the other day that said passion is a byproduct of our strengths. And it kind of is because and what I love that you did, and this is something so important to me when I help people in business coaching or starting their own business or just kind of finding their way to something that they're excited about. And your ikigai, which is
I was just going to say it's my ikigai because I get paid for it now, which is crazy.
Yeah. What do I know? What am I passionate about? And what can I get paid for?
What does the world need, right? What is the world needs? Longevity. The world needs health. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the problem that I solve? And I relate to that so much because, of course, I jumped right into marriage and children, but I always had this fascination with psychology, and I took some sociology courses when we lived in Germany. My ex was in the military, but trying to do a sociology and psychology stuff while you have a 1 and a 3-year-old around, it's not very productive. So that got a little bit on hold, and then I went into nursing. Well, the part of that, like you said, it's funny how you get guided. It's not a straight path. It's this windy road where finally you run into it. And I do believe, tell me if you agree with me. I do believe that's why I never look back with any regret. The only regret I have is the length of time I spent in some lessons that I could have shortened. I say now, I only take cliff notes on negative experiences. I don't stay in it and write a novel. Yep. And I believe, though, that I had to go through all of those things that I went through because I would never be the best coach and relationship coach and dating coach had I not done everything the wrong way. Because I can't tell you the right way unless I knew how to do it the wrong way. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think sometimes we get lucky, but even then, you still have to figure out how you got lucky. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like I am lucky that I found a career, but how did I get lucky? Well, I put it out into the universe and I made connections with these people, right? Because if I want to replicate that luck later, I still have to figure out how I got there. Right? Like if a client comes to me and says, hey, Jamie, great news. I lost 2 pounds. Work backwards. How is your sleep? How is your stress? Right? I don't just say amazing. Let's keep going. I was like, no, skirt. How many days a week did you follow your nutrition protocol? Were you compliant with your workouts? Did you keep your energy and sleep, energy to a minimum, sleep to a maximum? Great. Okay, then we can replicate it and just keep going. Same way you figure out why things went wrong, you have to figure out why they went right as well if you want more of it.
Yes, that is, I don't think I've ever heard it put so profoundly. Oh my gosh. And I've done a lot of this. That is so profound, is to say, if we want to replicate what's going well, we've got to go back up and say, how did we get there? Just like we do the negative. That's fantastic. Especially because my mindset is always, when people are presented with problems or whatever they're going through, is my focus is always on what are you doing right? Let's build on what you're doing right. And so you literally just put that in terms that my little brain, my neurodivergent brain was like, yes, yes, she gets it. She gets it. That's fantastic. And especially because from being there, and I think that makes us, any of us who've been through an experience, that's why you need to be a guest. If you have these experiences, anything that you've been through, it's your job, I believe, your purpose to pay it forward. You have to help those who haven't been there. And being that, like you said, yeah, you were in recovery from an eating disorder, but there's that flipping and flopping that if I don't keep repeating what kept going well while I was staying abstinent,
yeah,
then I can't continue it in the longevity of it. Yep. So that's beautiful. Seriously, I love that so much. Okay. So, love all of it so much. So tell us, what are you doing in your daily with your kinesiology degree, and how are you helping others? What do you do to help them, and where can our audience find you, our listeners find you? What can you help them with?
So we take, I always say it's super oh my gosh, what's it? Tacky? No, not the word I'm looking for. It's super, either way, whatever. We put the personal back in personal training. So I don't use my kinesiology degree. Everything I am doing, everything I have done in the last little bit, I've learned from a seminar, somebody smarter than I am, not from a textbook. Continuing education courses, freaking Mel Robbins, like not any of the professors that I had for 4.5 years. So what we do is integrate mental health and physical health, because like I just said, when I'm looking at what went well or what didn't go well over a client's past week, if their stress and their sleep aren't taken care of, it doesn't matter what nutrition protocol or workout I give them, because there's something else that's blocking them. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So we have to work through the stress first. If their energy is low, of course, we're going to look at it as, what foods are you eating? Are they processed? Are they not processed? Are there a lot of fruits and vegetables? Are you drinking enough water? But also, what sucked the life out of you this week? What did your environment look like this week? So we give strategies on how to remove that kind of stuff, how to trim the fat, literally and physically, from your life, how to get better sleep. It's, again, personal training. Maybe 60% psychological, 40% physiological. Other clients, 70% physiological, 30% psychological. Not all of them are overwhelmed. Some of them just want to get in great shape. Awesome. We'll take you too. So that's how we help.
I love that. I used to advertise at a gym, and I would go in and give them my card, and I'd say, hey, you take care of the outside, I'll take care of the inside.
So our flagship program is called the Inner Outer Strength System.
Of course.
Yeah, because we work on building the self-confidence, the self-esteem, the self-worth, the self-efficacy, but also get you jacked and lean. So we've both. So yes, I love that.
Oh man, I love that too. I love that so much. Now, I am considerably older than you. I have a daughter who's only 3 years younger than you, just to say that. So what do you recommend for people? And I'm gonna say this. I saw a thing today, and I'm gonna see if it's still there, if it's still on my computer. It is not. So as we get older as adults, we get really stuck in our ways. And I am 53 years proud around trips around the sun. But as everybody knows, I'm not a big fan of exercise, but I try to find other things to do. So I'm a walker and I've got a yoga trapeze. And so I do a lot of stretching. What do you suggest? Because mindset is such a big deal when it comes to exercise. So what do you suggest for some of your older clients who, we have chronic pain? I mean, let's just say that. So that's really a factor in my brain of why I don't want to exercise. How do you help us overcome the not wanting to work out?
I send you via Amazon Prime 1-day delivery, Carol Dweck's Growth Mindset. That's what I do. And then I gently remind you that your fitness doesn't look like what I do, because that's the first thing people do when they come to me. They say, I see you do CrossFit. I don't want to do CrossFit. And I said, fantastic. Most of the time, I don't want to do CrossFit. It's miserable and I hurt all the time. What do you like to do?
Thank you. How many personal trainers? Oh, listeners, you are so very welcome for what I've brought to you today. Oh my God. How many personal trainers are going to say, what do you like to do? Because everybody I've ever talked to about physical fitness is, here's what you need to do. I hate the word need. I hate someone telling me what I'm supposed to, should, whatever do. I want to stay in a place just like you did talking to that counselor about, what do I love? I love recess. So you found something that you love. And I think anything that we find success in comes from a place of joy, not from a place of hesitancy, resistance, and limiting beliefs. And to me, my limiting beliefs on exercise are, I'm in pain. I have chronic arthritis. I have rheumatoid and I have osteoarthritis and it hurts. But guess what? I get up and walk around our lake that is 3 miles around and I do it. And by the time I get back, I'm happy that I did it. So I like to walk. So you would work with me and say, walk, Maureen, but what else are we going to integrate into that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would probably, let's just use your example specifically because it's there. I would probably send you several videos on yoga that gets progressively more challenging.
Ooh,
I would give you a YouTube video so that you can follow along with it and you don't have to make it up on your own. And then once you feel better, you might ask me for what you can do for your muscles, what you can do to tone up. But the problem isn't the toning up. The problem is the pain. So we address that first.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Definitely, yes, growth mindset. I agree with you on that. That's what I obviously preach myself. But what do you think, since you focus on women especially and overwhelm, how much impact does hormones have on our weight and our physical fitness?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. But also, if we didn't do all of the things that F them up in the first place, they wouldn't have as much of an effect, right? Because hormones are going to hormone, and that's fine. But then when you also add the stress and pressure you put yourself under with your relationship, with your work, with the crappy social environment of women who are always comparing themselves to other women or complaining about whatever circumstances they're in, that will make the hormones hormone even faster and even worse. And then when you add comfort food and nighttime eating and jacking up your insulin levels at random times of the day and not moving your body, again, the hormones are going to hormone even faster. So again, I don't even like, of course, Katie and I will always ask for your blood work first. If that's, same, I get your intake form. To us, blood work is just as important as age, height, weight, and injuries or limitations. Yeah. But also if we see something that's off, we're going to ask about your sleep first. We're going to ask about your stress levels. We're going to ask about processed foods.
Yeah. I completely agree. That's the whole person. And the stress hormone cortisol is It's something that just sits there and it increases. And if you already have that predisposition of the hormones, especially me during menopause, you know, I eat well, I cook gourmet meals, I'm doing the walking and the exercise, and I've stopped being hard on myself and saying, you would think I would be at the weight for my height I should be. And then I look at myself and I'm like, stop being so dang hard on yourself. You look fine. You're not obese. And there are just some things that come with age. I did interview a guest one time who also is very grounded in the eating, so the plants and the health. She's a health coach. And she said this, and it really kind of helped me. She said, as you get older, your body actually increases the fat around your organs to protect you. And I liked it.
Yeah, that's, again, one of those things that we can't prevent it. It's going to happen, just like gravity, just like the slowing down of a metabolism, but we can hold it off as much as possible. We can have it chill and then, let it come to us slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least do the best that you can with where you are. And that's what I keep saying to myself. I'm like, you know what? You go to the doctor, you exercise, you're active. I'm not stressed. I actually am in a really good place. So I know it's not stress for me. Yeah. So I've had to like an elimination diet. It's like an elimination mindset. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not doing anything. And so then the acceptance has to come in and just say, you know what? You're good. You're good. And when you feel, I don't do a lot of the comfort eating. I'm probably the opposite. I eat like one healthy meal a day. I should probably eat more little meals. I know. Yeah. I know they say it's like the opposite effect, and it isn't, because it's just that I'm not hungry. I don't have an appetite. So I'm like, why do I have all this kind of chunky girl stuff going on? But then I go, well, it's your age. Our bodies, if you ever see a progression picture where they go from, baby to adult, you see, we all end up with the same kinds of body types at the same age, unless we're not exercising and we're really not having this lifestyle that's, the best lifestyles. I mean, obviously, if you're obese, you're not doing something that would be okay. But the body dysmorphia, we need to stop, because we're beautiful. You're all beautiful. Every one of you are beautiful. And we have to accept ourselves and then just say, maybe there's something I could do better tomorrow.
Just make sure you're healthy. I don't care, thin, fat, whatever, white, black, we just want you healthy. That's it. Moral of the story, just be a healthy individual.
That's right. Because really, weight is so contrary to health. Like, weight is it's a non-factor. It's a moot point. I think scales should be outlawed. I just don't think they're worth anything, because you're weighing every day, just like your energy changes. Whenever I coach people, I'm like, yeah, doing coaching week to week is maintenance. And your energy changes every week. So you're going to have different things every single week. Well, I think the same applies to weight. I mean, I'm going to have more water weight depending on the time of the month, or even the climate. Maybe it's a more humid climate, or maybe hormones, so let's just throw all of our scales away. We should do a movement, like your wonderful mother who did a movement. Ours should be, throw the scale away,
So the one thing, and obviously we could go into a whole separate podcast, but, so obviously we're very process focused, not so much outcome or results based. We don't love the scale either for our clients. We love photos. We love measurements. Those tell more of a story, but we do like the food scale, because without knowing how much you're eating, without weighing it, without being aware, you're just throwing caution. You're flying by the seat of your pants, right? If you you cannot start running a marathon and say, I know my goal is 26 miles, but have no direction whatsoever. Because you will not end up where you're supposed to. You're going to get lost. It's not going to end well. So you can't just say, I want to lose 20 pounds, but not track your food or not move. So Katie and I are huge fans of food scales, not human scales.
Agree 100%. And that calorie intake, burn more than you're taking in. I think and we don't know. We can't just guess. It's like having a recipe in front of you. you want to make a batch of cookies and they say, 3 cups of flour and you're like, I'll just wing it. Well, that recipe's not going to turn out well.
Yeah. Or they just tell you that cookies are eggs, flour, water, and chocolate chips, and you have no idea how much flour you should be using. And you're like,
yeah. Exactly. No, I love that so much. So where do listeners find you? How do they, get a hold of you if they want to do, because you do virtual coaching, right? You do virtual.
Yeah. JAIM91 on Instagram. So JAIM91 or JaimeFiler.com, JAIMEFILER. And then you'll find a link to a form to tell me more about yourself if you want to work together or just find out more about what I do.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And you're on everything, Instagram? Are you on TikTok? Anything like that?
I am, yeah. JaimeFiler.1 or Jamie.Filer1. Look up my name. You'll be able to find me.
Perfect. I'm doing that. I'm doing that today. I'm going to follow you.
Perfect.
Well, before we leave, I have to always leave because we usually have some heavy topics. And this is like a lot for my poor listeners. Like, God, Marie, you're always telling us what to do. No, really. We like to leave it on a light note. So I have a little series that I'm doing right now. I change it up, different podcasts or different seasons. But this series is called How Weird Are You?
Let my freak flag fly. Okay, let's go.
You know what I know I spring this on guests, so I always throw in an example to let you think a little bit, wink, wink. So my weird thing today that I'm going to share while you're thinking of your weird thing is I understand what my dogs are thinking. I do. Yeah. I do. They don't talk to me, but it's like I know. It's like they come up and they just look at me and I'm like, you want what? I get, I know what they want. I know how they're feeling just by how they're laying on the couch and look at me. I'm like, oh, I came in last night. I went outside in the backyard. My husband was sitting there and the dogs were on the couch. And I came in and I looked at my Border Collie Aussie and I said, you just got in trouble, didn't you? And he was like, how did you know that? And I was like, I could just see it in her face. I knew she had just gotten in trouble and she was looking at me like, he just yelled at me. Daddy was mean to me, which he isn't. But I never yell at them. So anyway, that's my weird thing is I understand what they are thinking without them talking. What is your weird thing, Miss Jamie?
Oh my God, my weird thing. Yeah, I totally wasn't anticipating that. My weird.
What would Katie say? What would Katie say if I talked to her right now and I said, Katie, what is a weird thing that Jamie does? What would she say?
I think if we're defining weird by like, if you looked at me and then I told you this thing, you'd be like, okay. I can probably recite 82% of all lyrics from any and every Broadway musical, from Manhattan Towers through Rent into Beauty and the Beast. And now 6, of course.
Did you literally say 82%?
Yeah.
82. That was a very random.
I mean, there are certain ones I like Sweeney Todd. I have no affinity for that music. There are certain ones I'm not interested in memorizing. Yeah.
But the weirdest thing about that statement is not that you know all of that, but that you picked 82%. No,
because I'm going to think like 8 out of every 10 musicals I have memorized. Yeah. There you go.
Were you in any plays or anything in school?
I wasn't, but because my dad was disabled, we couldn't go on vacations the way I don't want to say normal, the way a lot of other families could go on vacation. So my mom always tried to make whatever we could do in Toronto as exciting as possible. So any and every time a new Broadway play came and then it subsequently came out on VHS, she would take, me, my dad, and his nurse to go see the production. And then we would get the videotape to watch and relive it.
I love that so much because I was in drama. I was a thespian.
Hey, okay.
Not to be combined with the.
I'm a lesbian thespian.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So yes, that was a big thing. I actually lettered in it in high school, and we went and saw Cats at Schubert Theater in LA.
Oh, heck
for
yeah!
Our senior trip. And I took my daughter to New York in 2019 and I got her front row seats to Anastasia, which was like her absolute favorite cartoon, movie when she was a kid. And we went and saw Lion King here at Arizona State University. So I appreciate the 82%. So that's a fascinating weird thing, but it's a fun weird thing. It's a very talented thing. I love that you said it's okay, because I was just you know what, I just think it takes a lot of memory power, a lot of mind power to remember all that, because I can do lyrics from the 80s pretty much. I was a karaoke hostess, so I can pretty much remember most 80s songs. So thank you so much for ending it. I am so grateful for you, and I know that our listeners are too. You're such a beautiful, high energy spirit, and you bring so much good to the world. And with everything that you had been through in your life, the fact that you bring this forward, you pay this forward, and your calling is exactly what was meant for you. And I think, there's no doubt in my mind that you are absolutely spot on where you should be. And if there's anything that we can do to help you. So listeners, I'm just going to say you're welcome. That's it. You're just so welcome that I bring you such beautiful souls to come and chat with you on this podcast. She's fantastic. So as we wrap it up, guys, I'm going to say thank you for being here. Thank you that we are all 5 stars on Apple. I so appreciate that. Keep sharing the podcast, keep growing the community. All of your friends and family, everybody has a topic or a situation in their life that they're going through, and we'll always have a guest that will be there to help you and give you hope and give you tips and ways that you can do this. You can get through this, and they've been there, we've been there, and we're there for you. So if you want to reach out to Jaime, she's at jaimefiler.com. I will have her information on the show notes, so you'll be able to reach out to her. And you can always reach out to me at Life Coach Maureen for .com, that is, for dating, relationship, confidence, and life coaching. And let's see what else we have going on. My books, My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am, and My Dog is My Relationship Coach, available everywhere: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Elskers Press. Don't forget to buy your healthy treats, all homemade by me in my kitchen. MyDogIsEverything.net, where we've got Paw Balm, Nose and Toes Balm, lickable, safe, homeopathic, organic, as well as the shampoo bars, hypoallergenic, and fun apparel. And with Halloween coming up, we actually have some fun Halloween costumes and apparel on the site. So MyDogIsEverything.net. Love you all for being here. Please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Most of all, please take care of those furry babies, and let's make sure to adopt and don't shop, okay? Love you all. Until next week. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.